Yo, what is up guys? It is Matthew Maz Fishing and we are back again for another video. Hopefully you guys are having a great day. Hopefully you guys have been working hard, doing lots of fishing lately. I've been super busy and here's the reason why. So now if you guys go online, I have officially launched my new company. It is Silver Bullet Baits. Look at that, guys. We've got tons of beads, tons of different selections. I'm rocking a little prototype shirt that we got made. We're gonna have some apparel coming out in the future, but we got tons of beads in stock. You can check it all out at silverbulletbaits.com. We got beads, we sell bead kits, we've got bead pegs, anything you could really want, and anything to really get you guys set up to catch some fish. So this episode is going to be episode 3 of our How to Float Fish series. We are going to go into how to actually cock your float down properly. So in the last video, we went over the different types of floats and how they essentially work and how to set them up. However, now to actually get it set up in the water, we have to do a few more things. So if I was to put my float in the water right now, the way it is, there's just a line underneath. We have our float pegged in place, as you guys saw in the last video. I would drop it in, and the float would essentially go and sit like that. It would sit on its side, which is not what we want. When you're fishing a float properly, you want to have some weight underneath the float, which pulls it and cocks it so that the water actually sits right up to that little orange line. You guys can see the float there. There's a couple different marks. You got 2 silver lines and then you have where the orange starts. You want the water to sit essentially right at the orange because that cocks your float in place and essentially gets it ready for if you were to get a strike, you can actually tell and see. Okay guys, we are back and we have a little glass container just filled with water here, nothing fancy. And for the purpose of this is going to be how we're going to simulate what our float is actually going to look like when it is in the river. So guys, we have our float, as you saw in the last video, nothing changed, and we are simply going to drop it in the water. So that's what it looks like right now. You can see it's sitting on its side. It's not because that line's hanging. It's sitting like that. So if we were to get a strike right now, it would be very weird. The float would go like that. We wouldn't really be able to tell. It could very well be a snag because nothing's really keeping our float in one specific position. So now in order to get that float looking the way we want it, which is like that, we are going to grab our split shots, which we have over here. These are some of the Raven shots. I think these ones are the biggest size they come in. These ones are like 2 down from the biggest size. It doesn't really matter too much. Just buy a bunch of variety of shots. You want to have a good variety so you have enough weight for any type of situation. So there's a few different ways you can really set up your shots. And people do it a little bit differently. Some people will put a bunch of small split shots down here. In comparison, I like to simply just go with as big of a shot as possible. So first of all, I use less split shots. And second of all, it's much quicker if I want to set up or if I break off. So we're gonna grab those Raven split shots. I think they're the AAA size, the AAA size, sorry. I could be wrong. And again, we are using a Cool Water number 4 float, which is 4 grams. And now all we're gonna do, grab that split shot and we're gonna actually put it onto our line under our float. We have 1 split shot right there. Now guys, it doesn't have to be directly under the float, but you are still going to tie a little swivel onto the end after. So you wanna make sure you leave yourself a little bit of space. So now we're gonna grab our float, put it in the water. So it's looking better. As you can see, the float is now sitting straight down. The orange is facing straight up. However, if you look at the water line on the float, I hope you guys can see that there. We're sitting under both of those silver lines, which we wanna be right up till that little orange portion of the float. You can see there's those 2 silver lines and then the orange begins. So what that tells me is we need a little bit more weight because we want to cock that float down further. So we're simply going to grab another one of those big shots and put that onto our line. So now you can see there's 2 of those split shots. Let's see if we can get that into focus. Rather than just the one, we're going to do the same thing. Drop that float in. Now it's looking pretty good. We are just about down to the orange line. Could probably use a hair more weight. It doesn't hurt to have a little bit more. Now keep in mind, if you are going to use, say a row bag or a glass bead or something a little bit heavier on your rig, you want to account for that before because taking these split shots off is quite difficult because those will actually cock your float further. So now we're gonna grab one last shot. These are the smaller ones. It's the same split shots, they're just the painted brown ones. Personally, I don't really have any type of preference. It's just whatever's in stock when I'm at the store. Grab one of those guys and toss it onto our rig. So now we have 2 of those big shots and 1 of that small one. Drop that guy in. Now we're right up to that orange. That is exactly how we want it. You guys can see the water level is sitting right up to the little orange portion on the float, and that is how we want our float to be cocked. Now, it's gonna be essentially the exact same process no matter what type of float you have. So you see on these guys, we have the clear portion of the float, and there's a little white line. It's very small, and then we have where the orange starts. You want the exact same thing to occur. You would want that float to go right down to that orange portion. This is a Blackbird float. However, we want the exact same thing to happen even if we were using a Raven float, Drennan, whatever other company you guys use. They all want to essentially be down to that portion. And the reason for this is you want to cock it in place properly. So when I get a hit, if my float is in the water properly, the whole thing's going to drop underwater. You're going to be able to tell super easily. It makes it a lot more sensitive, as well as you can also actually tell if you're hitting bottom. So if your float was hitting bottom, for example, what you're going to see, rather than that float dropping directly down, what you're gonna actually notice is it's almost gonna have kind of like a jerky side motion. So I'm gonna try to replicate that as best I can. It's not gonna be perfect, but it's gonna kind of look like that. It's gonna go to the side and tick sideways. And so if your float is ticking sideways like I replicated there, you're going to want to shorten the leader on the end of your line. So that is just about it, guys. I just want to give you a quick explanation of what it actually means to have your float cocked in place properly. It's very important. If you're not doing that, it's gonna be very hard to detect strikes and very difficult to actually catch fish. So there you guys have it. There's our final setup. All we did from the last video essentially is add 3 split shots onto the float there, and that's gonna cock it in place properly and get you ready to catch some fish. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this one. Make sure you check out Silver Bullet Baits. That's my new company, guys. I'm super stoked on it. We have lots of really awesome products to share with you guys. I make a lot of custom beads too. We do a lot of painting and stuff like that. We do UV, glow, modeled, red dot, whatever you guys want. Make sure you check it out. We got some sweet deals going on before opener that you don't wanna miss. Stay tuned for the next video, guys. In the next one, we are going to go over how to actually rig. Thank you guys very much for watching. Have a great day, and peace.